If you're wondering how to get started with crystals, or perhaps you have a collection but you just haven't had the chance to work with them yet, then today's video is going to be really helpful for you to get clear on which crystals to begin with, what they mean, and how they can support you in your personal and spiritual growth. My name's Kat from Cosmos and Crystals, and I've been working with crystals for more than 20 years. But it wasn't until I actually started to experiment and to work more consciously with my crystals that I started to really sense the difference between their energies. And I'd always had faith that the crystals were doing something, but I was generally just doing what most people do, which is look in a book for the particular crystal that was aligned with what I was wanting in that moment. For example, perhaps I wanted more confidence, or perhaps I was looking for some protection for whatever situation I was going into. And so I would look in the book, find the appropriate crystal, and choose that one to carry with me during the day. But after a while, I started to feel this urge to understand more directly the energies, to actually feel for myself how they were different and try to identify what the information was that those crystals were transmitting to me. So I bought one of those, those telephone card directory boxes, and it's just like a box of cards with the letter of the alphabet. And so I used that for my crystals, and each crystal I would make a new card. And I started to do my own experiments, to sit with the crystals and to just try and sense what the vibration was, what the messaging was, and I would carry it during the day, see if there were any particular events, thoughts, feelings in the body that came up, and then make a note of those at the end of the day, and then compare them to the book. And often the things that I was sensing were very similar to the things that I was finding in the book, which was fascinating. And so yes, when I'm confused about the meaning of something, or whether I'm just too tired to think and to really feel into things, because this is the thing as well, the energy is so subtle, you really do have to get quiet, be in a space where you can really tune in to their energy. And sometimes we don't always feel like that. So I still have dozens of books on crystals. All of them help me to choose which crystals to work with and which crystals to work with my clients. Although generally with clients, if I'm doing a crystal healing session or choosing a specific crystal for somebody based on their birth chart, then I really go with my intuition and my own physical experience when I'm choosing that special crystal. Perhaps you've always felt a spiritual calling. Perhaps from a young age, you've been attracted to alternative healing, always been interested in the unseen. Maybe you have a story of drugs and alcohol like I do, which is really about escapism as well, wanting to escape the physical world that we're in. And so yes, I've always had this spiritual inclination. And I remember buying my first crystal in Leeds, where I grew up, and walking down the street, going towards the crystal shop. I remember opening the door and there was a little bell that rang as you went through the door. And I remember it being a very bright space. I know that often crystal shops can be quite dark, but this was a very bright space. And I remember being really mesmerized by the beautiful gems that were all around the shop. I walked over to this particular area. There were rough crystals and a tray with different tumbled stones in. And I picked up this crystal that just immediately attracted me. And it was amethyst. And I thought, wow, that looks like a tooth. Like it had one pointed end with a very white lilac color, and the other end, a thicker end, with a dark purple color. That was my first crystal. I immediately bought that crystal and I was so excited to work with it. I didn't really sense the energy at that time. I really was just attracted by sight. But this is also a form of intuition. Choosing by sight what you feel or think is a crystal for you. And I still have that crystal. Here it is. And the beautiful thing with crystals, I bought this maybe 25 years ago, is that they don't perish. And I think this is just such a beautiful thing to remember with crystals, is that they're with you for a lifetime. And yes, some of them do change over time, especially if you have them out in the sun, they fade. If you're working with a particular crystal for a long time, it can lose its color, it can even lose some of its properties. But that rock still stays with you, you're stuck with it. And I just think that's so interesting that they end up being your little partners on your life journey. And so amethyst for me is about connection to the unseen. I often use it to connect with the third eye. So I'll place usually a smaller amethyst crystal. Have I got one here? Yeah. Like a smaller amethyst crystal on the third eye, lying down. And I will just lie down and let any information come to me through the crystal, the vibration through my body. Maybe it will bring me some messages, maybe it won't, because sometimes the information that crystals transmit we're not aware of. But this is a crystal associated with spiritual insights and also with healing in general. Around that time, I struggled a lot with asthma. I was really drawn to just placing that crystal on my chest and lying down for 15 to 20 minutes. And it brings such relief. Amethyst is known for reconstructing cells, for bringing healing to the body. It's also a fantastic crystal to use if you want to make a gem water. I'm thinking about doing another video on gem water, so if you're not sure about what that is, then don't worry. But just laying this crystal on the body somewhere where you have discomfort, where you have pain, can feel very soothing, very relieving. And if you start to work with amethyst, one of the things that I'm sure that you will begin to notice is that as soon as you pick up amethyst, there's a sense of faith. Faith that you're on the right path, that the universe does have a plan that makes sense in some way. Whenever I'm feeling a little bit unstable, then amethyst is the crystal that I go for. This is the crystal that I go for if I want to feel a boost of energy, confidence, joy. And citrine is associated with energy, associated with, I can say that word, I promise, associated with energy, with vitality. And so if you're feeling a bit flat, if I wake up in the morning, I'm like, oh my God, I'm so tired. Give me something to support me or to bring out my more energetic side. This is the one that I put in my necklace. Citrine is also really good for any problems in the stomach area. So if you've got a lot of discomfort in the stomach, or even if you have problems with the intestine or digestion, then citrine is a really nice crystal to lay on the stomach area. As you might already know, it's also related to the solar plexus chakra. And so again, placing it on this area just above the belly button can just bring you some great relief if you've got a lot of trapped emotions there. If you're feeling anxious, if you're feeling nervous about something, then citrine can really help to release that energy, to dissipate trapped nerves in that area of the body. This is one that I definitely recommend that you start working with if you haven't started connecting with your crystals yet, because it has a noticeably different energy to the other crystals. It's sparkly, you can feel its energy. And so that's really helpful when you're trying to do, like I was saying at the beginning, experiment to notice the difference between the energies. And if you're enjoying today's video, make sure that you sign up for my newsletter. I have so much fun in the newsletter. It's much more chill because I'm not having to be on camera. The newsletter comes out every couple of weeks, and it's just some really easy tips, ideas for working on the energy at the moment. I send meditations, I send free audios to listen to. And if you're enjoying what's going on here on the channel, I think you'd really like it. So, okay, the final crystal that you have to have in your collection. And this crystal is, for me, the easiest crystal to work with because it has such a fast, potent energy, and that's quartz. Rock crystal, it's sometimes called. Clear quartz, it's sometimes called. You might even be able to sense this. It just has such a fast, pure energy that it's really easy to feel very quickly. And I know that there are so many crystals to choose from and it can just be so confusing. So I've really tried to pick out the ones today that I think are gonna have an energy that you can actually sense quite easily. Because I'm sure, like me, when you have too many options, you just end up not choosing anything. I mean, imagine when you go into a perfume shop and the perfume shop has like 100 different perfumes, or even one of those shops where you can, oh my God, make your own perfume. And I see those shops and I'm just like, I'm not going to enter that shop ever because there's just too many choices. For me, that's complete overwhelm. I don't know if you're the same. Let me know in the comments if you're the same when you see those perfume shops. Whereas if I go past a perfume shop and they have 3 to 5 choices of perfumes, I'm going to go in and I'm going to try a couple of perfumes and make a choice. For me, having less choices actually helps me to define what I'm going to choose. And it's the same with crystals. When it feels very overwhelming, when you go into a shop and there's too many things to choose from, go for the ones that I'm talking about today, because these are the basics. These are the ones that you're really going to sense their energies, and the ones that are not going to make you feel overwhelmed by meanings and vibrations, because they have very clear energy. So clear quartz. Now, clear quartz is great if you want focus. And one of the things that I actually really like to do with my crystals is I like to have one word that I associate with the crystals, because then I remember more easily. When I wake up in the morning and I see my crystals, then I have a word that I associate with that crystal. For me, the word that I associate with quartz crystal is clarity. And so if I'm really wanting some more clarity, if my head is feeling really fuzzy, total brain fog, or I've got a lot going on in the day where I really need to be focused, then quartz crystal is the one that I use, because it has this laser sharp focus to it. And especially if you have a point like the one that I just mentioned, this is a smaller point. You can get so many different kinds of quartz. This is a smaller clear quartz point. And it's rock crystal that people use for scrying, I think is the word, isn't it? Where they have like a crystal ball and they stare into it, because this is a really good crystal for channeling. You can carry quartz crystal with you, feel messages more clearly being transmitted to you. You can meditate with it at the top of the head, again creating this channel with the heavens, with the divine information coming through to you. On a physical level, rock crystal brings clarity, brings purification to the body. And so this is a great crystal to use if the body needs purification in some way. And I'm quite sure that as you start to work with the 3 crystals that we've talked about today, you're going to really notice the difference between their energies. One more crystal that I want to talk to you about today, and that is tourmaline. So very different energy to the other crystals that we've talked about today, but I do think it's really important to have a black tourmaline in your collection if you're just starting out, because it's a grounding crystal. And so this crystal, again, you can tell a lot about crystals by the way that they look, their color, whether they're transparent or not, whether they're opaque. And this crystal, this tourmaline crystal, is used for protection. It's used for grounding. And so if you've had a really heavy day, or you've been somewhere that's been very busy with a lot of different energies, then tourmaline is a really great crystal just to hold in your hand to release those energies. It helps to bring you back down to earth. It helps you to come back into the body. It allows you to release anything that you picked up during the day that isn't yours, that you don't need to carry with you. Tourmaline isn't normally a crystal that I wear during the day unless I know I'm going into a situation that is very heavy, but it is a crystal that I will use at the end of the day to release any energy, to ground myself, or after a session. If I've done a session with somebody and there's been a lot of things that have come up, then I will use tourmaline just to bring me back into my body and out of the mind. By building a relationship with a few key crystals, then you start to sense their energies, and then you start to gain confidence. And that's when you start to be attracted to new crystals and start learning about their energies. And this is what it's really about with crystals. It's about going slowly, going at your own pace, not feeling overwhelmed by all of those choices, but still creating a connection with your crystals that isn't just reading in a book and taking the crystal that's aligned with what you want, but actually sensing the different energies that are available for you. If you've enjoyed today's video, then you will definitely want to check out the video that I made on rose quartz. Rose quartz is another essential crystal for your collection, but I didn't want to talk about it today because I've done a whole video on rose quartz, the crystal that we use for opening and healing the heart. So if that sounds like something you'd like to know more about, then definitely watch that video here.